Okay, this will be our last tutorial for these exercises. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating this kind of illustrative letter here. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to go back over to my tutorial file that I was working on. And I've typed out a W, and this is actually, I don't know if you have this font, but this is Cooper. It's a nice font. You can use a different font if you want to, but you want to use something that's thick. You want to use a nice bold font for this exercise because we're going to need the space inside so we can make a drawing, okay? So so let's take our font here and let's turn to outlines, okay? So let's go to type. We're going to go to create outlines, okay? Now it's a shape. And we're going to turn this shape into a blue here, okay? Actually, well, that's gray. Well, we'll take the black. We'll just click down in here. There we go. Nice blue. All right, so now, if you remember what you saw there, we saw kind of a wave shape. So I'm just going to take my pen tool here, and I'm going to draw a wave, a wavy kind of shape here. And we're going to have to make it darker, but I'm just drawing it for the moment until I get it finished. And I'm going to take it all the way down here for a moment like this. Okay, and then let's make this darker so we can actually see this. So we want to make a nice blue here. Okay, and there's a lot of ways you could do this because I could have done it from the reverse end. That's kind of how I did the last one, but I thought I just started drawing it like this, and we're just using this one layer to do it with. Okay, so that's a nice kind of wavy shape here. Let me go in here and pull this out a little bit more so this gets that. Okay, now, okay, I kind of like that. Now I might bring these up like here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to play around here and we're going to put a gradient in this. So I'm going to basically just sort of leave this shape like this for the moment here. And let's put a gradient in here. Actually, put a gradient in the back one. Let's do that. Put a gradient back there. So again, let's click on the shape. I have my gradient out. I have this color here. This is the fill color. And I'm going to drag this all the way over into where the black is at. And then, of course, drag this out and get rid of that black. There we go. Okay. And by the way, you have to have a minimum of 2 sliders on a gradient. So if you're wondering why you can't drag out a slider, it's probably because you're only down to 2 sliders. Okay. And so we're going to move that there. I kind of like the white there, but let's change the direction of the gradient. Let's go up like this. Okay. And maybe this is not going to be going to white. Maybe this goes to a light blue. So this is kind of a trick I've learned a long time ago. And that is we don't have to assign a lighter blue here. We can just kind of click in between here, pull this one out, and then pull this one over. And that's a quick way to kind of make a lighter blue there, okay? So now we've got 2 colors here going on, and we've got a wave, okay? And what I want to do is we can trim this wave off simply by using our shift key. We'll do, well, not my shift key, but my shape builder tool. So what I'm doing is I want to select both the W and the wave and do shift M and then hold down my alt key and we're going to cut that, okay? So now I want to make, this looks pretty cool, but I want to make it look three-dimensional or have it so it sort of feels a little bit more real. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some shading here to this. And right now that green I can't see too well. So let's double click our layer and let's change this green to maybe a brown. Let's see if that, yeah, okay, I can see that better now. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm actually just kind of going in here manually, drawing here, and I'm going to draw a shape going this way, okay? And let's go to our transparency palette, and we'll set that to multiply perhaps. There we go. See that? That looks kind of nice there. Now, let's click off it for a second so we can see it without that. Okay, now, looks like I'm going to have to smooth that out. Again, we can use our pencil tool and hold down our Alt key and smooth that out so it makes it much smoother there. okay? Because we want to kind of give it a nice effect like that. Now let's go over here. You get our pen tool again, and we're going to draw out the shading on this side. Okay, that's why I think if you use Cooper like I'm doing, it might make your job a little easier because you'll see exactly where I'm clicking to kind of make it look more three-dimensional. Otherwise, if you're using a different font, you're going to have to do some thinking there about where it needs to go. And so again, let's go and set this. Now I've got my transparency palette open. And my transparency palette, if you don't have it open here, you can always go up under your window and find it. Okay, and I'm going to set this to multiply again. Okay, so it sets a nice multiply. Now I'm looking at this, and it looks like I'm going to have to do some changing here just to fix this part. I'm going to pull this out a little bit. Oops, there we go. That makes that look a little better. We'll pull this point out a little bit more. And I'm just trying to perfect this a little bit, okay? So it looks nice. Now, because of the way this font is shaped, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, if I want to make this really look kind of three-dimensional, I'm going to have to do some shading up under here. So let's go in here on this little part and do this. Okay, and we can set that to multiply, although I don't know much of what it's going to, yeah, it's going to make it look a little darker. I'm going to see through it here. Do the same here. Okay, now let's take a look and see what we got. We'll set that to multiply. Okay, and it's not bad. I could probably live with most of it. I am a very picky person when I try to get things looking right. So our problem right now is, is we could cut these, but I want to show you about you making a clipping mask, okay? So clipping masks are very important, especially if you're drawing inside a shape and you want to kind of use that shape to crop with, okay? And so let's just take this W here, shape, and we're going to do Command C, okay? We're going to do Command F, which is paste in front, and then I'm going to bring it all the way to the front. And so we're going to go to Object, Transform, and we're going to go up, Transform, Move, and I'm sorry, Arrange. I apologize. Bring to front. Now, the keyboard shortcut, by the way, is Shift, Command, left bracket. Okay, so that just brought that up forward. I wanted to show where that was at besides using the keyboard shortcut because in case you don't know what that command is, it was up under Object and Arrange. Not Transform, but Arrange. Okay, and you see Bring to Front. So we brought that all the way to the front there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these shapes like this. Okay, and then we're going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. And see, that makes a clipping mask, so it makes it really kind of nice there, okay? Now, one last thing to do to make this look a little bit more three-dimensional is we're going to add some highlight parts. Now, I could have waited and did the clipping mask afterwards, but I thought to myself, you know what? These highlight shapes are going to be on the inside of this, so they're not having to get clipped. They're not having to get, they're not having to get clipped. We don't have to crop them. I'm just drawing them. And so we're going to make these lighter shapes here. We'll use white. And if white is too white, then we'll fix that in just a minute, okay? So let me get this here. And if you got your Wacom tablet, you can always draw. I'm trying to do a Command Z here. You can use your pencil tool and draw this out. I'm going to kind of do this. Yeah, there we go. Trying to make these curvy, okay? These little highlight areas. This really makes it pop. And I'm actually going to go back and look at my first example to see how close this is and if there's something I'm forgetting to do, okay? So, and we'll go in here and improve the shape a little bit. I like to do, okay. Now you can always go in here and manually adjust. We just want to make these kind of these balloon-like shapes. And make that nice and clean. Now we could just make one and copy it. That's the other thing we could have done. But I kind of like making each one, and we want to make them nice and clean looking. And if we need to, by the way, like like I can actually pull this out a little bit, and that cleans that up. Um, this does not have a handles on it, but if we do Shift C, that is the anchor point tool. We can actually add a curve to that, and we can actually make another handle there. Just wanted to show you how to do that. Okay, and then we'll bring this here. Now let's zoom out here and see what we got here. A very nice effect here. Could be better here, but let's look and see if this was what we were getting before. Oh, I see something down here. See that's kind of nice there. Okay, so let's go down in here. I see that my sky had more of a gradient, but that's okay. You know, if we want to, we can go in there and change the gradient on the sky here. Let's go to our gradient palette and maybe I think it adds a little bit more magenta here. There we go. See, that looks really nice. And what I did was to make this look a little bit more three-dimensional on the other side was I added another one, a couple of these highlights here. And you know what? This time I'm just going to make one and copy it. It's make my life a little easier, make your life a little easier so you don't have to watch me drawing another one. Okay, so we'll make one here. And zoom in, make sure it looks good before we leave it. There we go. Now let's just curve that a little bit better here. And then we'll fill this with white, but we're going to lower the opacity. But before we lower the opacity, and we're going to lower the opacity of the other ones too. It'll make it look better. Okay, so I'm going to take this shape and we'll just bring it over here. I'm just dragging it, and then I hold down my Alt key or my Option key there, and then that will copy it. Okay, and so let's get all these shapes here, and I'm going to select them all. We can group them if we want to. And let's go to our transparency palette and lower our opacity. Okay, so we get kind of a nice look like that. So we get highlights. Now, if we didn't want them all grouped, I'm going to ungroup them. All right, Shift Command G. And this time we're going to lower the opacity of these separately so you can see the difference here. We can make that so these are a little darker. Or we can make it a lighter blue too, you know. But I'm using our transparency palette to get this effect. There we go. Okay. Now let's take a look at that. And see, we got a nice kind of drawing inside of a letter. And by the way, you could do this throughout a whole series of letters. Like if we have the word water and we wanted to do this, we could use clipping masks to actually make that happen. But this is going to be our last exercise. Okay. So you will need all of these all in one Illustrator file, and they can be on separate layers, but let's show them all. Make sure you're turning your text to outlines. If you need to, you can delete your template, or you can just send it, and if it doesn't show up, that's fine, because I don't need to see this. I have this template already, so if I need to see how well you traced it, I can always find the letter. You might want to type out what one you did, but if you do that, turn your text to outlines, okay? So anyway, that will conclude this tutorial.